lot of private sector driven initiatives like that work. It has worked for you, and you're doing pretty well in your calling now. But if you look at it, you just made mention of the number of senators, House of Reps, for instance, in Nigeria, three senators each, and states or a country as big as the United States, irrespective of size, two senators.
That's right.
Making 100 senators in the United States.
That's right.
So, do you think the Nigerian National Assembly can look inwards and say, wait a minute, let's have a law that can prune down this, knowing full well that those who are going to sit over the deliberation of such laws, it will affect them ultimately. Can they do that?
Well, it's one of the, I'm sure they can. In a state where you are operating a higher sense of national duty, patriotism. Unfortunately, it's rare commodity here, even among those who run government. But, and when I talk, I'm not talking about this government. I'm talking about the system, especially from after the Civil War. You know, the government has become a place where a lot of people go and hang all their life and all their problems. You see, look, a lot of things are wrong with this system.
Do you think they are playing, hold on, sorry. Do you think they're playing politics with this? Because if that is what they're doing, perhaps someone would want to ask an economist like you, what is politics?
Politics is what you use sometimes to, you know what they call the logic of state. Okay, sometimes the state starts developing a logic of its own, for its own existence, for its own survival, and this is something in theory of political economy, that you can have a runaway state where that's what some people fight in the US, big government. The state can then develop its own logic, which is selfishly for its own reason. Look at Nigeria. If you want to count the billionaires in Nigeria one by one, number one, 80%, 90% of them don't have a factory anywhere. They are billionaires, but you can't point to the factory where they're making the money. You can't. If you want to count them, you'll be surprised how many percentage will be people who have been in government. People shouldn't go to government to go and be billionaires, but that's what's happening. Okay, that's part of the problem of the logic of state. When the state turns from a tool for all of society into a tool for the service of itself. So individuals who go to try to solve, they try to privatize individual problems.
What you have successfully shared in me is that politics should mean, should also go side by side with statesmanship. What do you really think that your people will get? If you think that a small country as Nigeria, in comparison, to the United States, which has taken it upon itself to have at least 2 senators each, even they have a place that has no representative, DC, yet you pay your tax.
That's right.
How come we still haven't been able to think, since we are in a democracy, a presidential system, and see how we can prune down now so that we know that we are running on a deficit?
See, it is what we're talking about just some moments ago. I'll give you an example. Many private companies, certainly where I finished, and many of the other similar companies, they will give you a minimum number of years where you should have worked for that company before you can be entitled to pension for life. Do you understand? They will say 15 years, 18 years. In Nigeria, you are 50-something years, you go and become governor or senator, you've just given at most 8 years, just a tiny number of years of your life to the government of your state or somewhere. And then that entitles you to pension for life.
Which ordinarily you won't qualify.
You won't qualify for it. So you see, we need to really revisit some of the logic of states. Is it a logic that is for service of the state as a collective, or is it a logic that is for finding individualized, personalized, privatized solutions to the problems of the individuals who go in when the social solutions are not being found? Do you understand? The education system breaks down, no problem. You steal enough money or make enough money in government, you can put your children abroad and things. Oh, the light is not working, no problem. Steal enough money, you can have 3 huge generators, and small ones and inverter and everything. On and on and on. We should revisit the logic of state in Nigeria.
To revisit the logic of state.
Yes.
You said something earlier about reorientation. There might be a need to re-educate, punish, and reward.
And restructure.
So how
punish, restructure?
How would that work out in our system now? Re-educate, punish, reward, and restructure. How would that work out? Where is it? Okay, let's just say, where should be the starting point?
I think the starting point is really to so structure Nigeria that even if you're an armed robber and you go into government, you won't be able to play your armed robbery. Do you know there are systems that constrain whatever agenda you're bringing?
Who would structure? So I asked the question. Who would sit down and structure Nigeria?
The people who call the leadership and the civil society. Maybe you have a body which is not going to be former this, former that. Get a lot of the youth because it's their future at stake right now. Get whoever you get. Use whatever mechanism you use to get people into that kind of body. It could be restructuring for development, conference. I hate conference, but you know what I mean. You know, people who work technically seriously over X number of months and come out with a master blueprint to rework the logic of the Nigerian state, so that the vast majority of people will go into the state, into state positions, which is why the fight to even get there is a do or die battle. They do not go there, you know, to warp and twist around the logic of states.
You know, let me bring this part in, because as we speak, we're grappling with the budget,
yes,
waiting for it to be passed. And then some analogy has it that, I mean, if eventually the budget is passed, can they really do anything this year if they've got to go through the due process office, which may take you between, is it 6 or 8 months? Your project comes in, and can they really achieve anything this year?
They can achieve something. Obviously, look, you're counting time. It's chronological. We have lost 3 months. Those 3 months are never coming back. You understand? So whatever it is, you should have used the money to do, you know, capital projects and things. They're gone for those 3 months. But so it's how much you can accelerate the workings of the ministry, departments, and agencies, and how much the leadership itself, can take a big stick and whip. We want action. It's democracy, I understand that. Okay, these are adults, I understand that. But really, sometimes the leadership itself can run so much, can literally abuse its own peace. Do you understand? And rest. You know, some people when they work, they spend only 3 hours sleeping in a day. Donald Trump, no friend of mine at all, sleeps for 3 hours a day. Do you understand? Maybe if the leadership will now push themselves, say, look, we are late, we've lost 3 months. How can we build some of these 3 months? Which is to say, they must be prepared to achieve 1 month's amount of work in 2.5 weeks for the rest of the year. But they should carry this on everything. And in any case, I don't know whether it's a criminal law. They should make it a criminal law for anybody, governor, president, anybody, not to have the budget passed by December 31st. Nigeria is January to December. We should start implementing budget from, so by the time we go on Christmas holiday, budget should have been okayed, agreed on it. January, you start implementing. Because that is really both the spirit and the letter of our fiscal cycle. Am I correct?
All right, that's all we have to anchor. We have to thank you very much indeed for coming on this morning, Mr. Bolaji Ogunseye, a development economist